Hey, what's up everybody? So, back again with another Curse of the Moon 2 speedrun. This is a record time I got offline for Episode 2 Ultimate. And unlike Episode 1, where it's like a standard playthrough of the game, and you have to unlock your party members as you play, here you start with Zangetsu, Robert, and Hachi, and the goal is to save Dominique from the clutches of the demon Mephisto. So that's the premise. In terms of the changes from Episode 1 to Episode 2, the big one is that all of the bosses have been massively buffed. They're much bulkier and they've got some new attacks to work with as well. Besides that, there are some new enemies scattered around. Some of the power-ups have changed locations. And for the purposes of the speedrun, a lot of routes that were slower in Episode 1 are now quicker in Episode 2, and vice versa. So for certain stages, like Stage 1 here, we're taking some brand new routes through the game. This route right here is actually brand new. This is not in the old record time. Saves about 3 seconds, and it also gets us 10 extra MP to work with. Boss number 1 here, Drago Symbiote, is the single best example of how much the Episode 2 bosses have been buffed. Pretty trivial fight on Episode 1, but as you're going to see, it's pretty involved on Episode 2. Yeah, really good fight. As you can see, it's pretty complicated. You gotta worry about the fire on the ground. That's not there in Episode 1. You've gotta get double hits in just to speed things along. Much more complicated fight this time around. So yeah, overall, good stage. Now here at the start of Stage 2, I want to draw your attention to our list of sub-weapons. We've got the Demon Essence for Zangetsu, which gives him a spin sword attack and increases damage of everything by 1. We've got the Big Gun for Robert, and Hachi is always stuck with invincibility. That's what we're going to have equipped for 95% of the playthrough. Here's why. Using the Big Gun, Robert can boost himself upwards, and this is really good for platforming. In Episode 1, we would use Dominique and either the High Spear or the Pogo Spear to get up to certain places quickly. But Dominique is gone, so the Robert Big Gun is our next best option. Yeah, so there I go for a damage boost intentionally. Saves a little bit of time to get knocked to the right. Now you'd think that with all of this extra MP we have to work with, it'd be nice to maybe use the Big Gun on boss fights, but the time it takes to swap to Robert, use the attack, swap back, it actually ends up being slower for pretty much every fight in the game compared to just swinging your sword as Zangetsu, which is kind of unfortunate. Something I don't like about this category as much as episode 1 stuff is that the combat variety just isn't as interesting. You know, in episode 1 Ultimate, it's mostly Zangetsu, but it's a combination of Demon Essence, Holy Water, you even use the Ball and Chain a little bit. Dominique's Electric can be useful. We see the Machine Gun and the Big Gun. Here it's pretty much all Zangetsu. I do love these sequences between the stages. They tell a great, heartwarming tale of Robert and Hachi growing closer. By the end of this, they'll be the best of friends. Now, stage 3, there's not too much to talk about compared to episode 1. However, the boss is very, very difficult. In fact, it's one of the major reset points of episode 2. I do end up getting some good cycles on this platform room, but I almost fall down anyway, so that was kind of a close call. RNG was good, but I almost blew it. I was like 1 pixel away from falling to my doom. So that was good, but not quite perfect. So you can switch to Robert here. The problem there was I only got 2 of the 3 charge slashes I was looking for. You can double hit the bottom and hit the top all at the same time. Didn't quite have that happen here. So that's a pretty big time loss. The major reset points for this category are boss number 3, boss number 5, boss number 6, and especially the final boss, Mephisto. You really need to get at least decent RNG on all of those fights to get a good time. Coming up, we've got the one use of the big gun to slide on the ice. In non-ultimate categories, it's often really quick to switch to Robert, to slide on the ice with a big gun. But in ultimate mode, it's not that much quicker than just dashing forward. So it's only useful in places where you've already switched to Robert and you have a little bit of MP to spare. In this room, for example, I did some testing on whether or not switching to Robert might be worth it. Sadly, just a little bit slower. Now, in episode 1, in stage 3, there is a heart max upgrade. That's been moved around in episode 2, so we don't get that here. It's interesting that Robert can just barely survive taking that hit from the sniper enemy. Works out pretty fortunately. I'm not sure why episode 2 adds those torches there. There are also some new food items thrown around. Earlier in the stage, we got some coffee, which can heal your characters. And by the way, that is Robert's favorite food. Every character in this game has a favorite food item. I'm not sure why, but Hachi's favorite is ice cream. So that's a really good phase 1 on Vepar. The RNG doesn't matter too much in episode 2. In fact, I don't think it matters at all. Whether she goes left or right, it seems to be about the same. But you do want to try and get in a lot of multi-hits if you can. So yeah, we're over halfway done, and the only real mistake of this run has been not getting the triple charge slash on boss number 3. However, here comes stage 5. And if you've seen a Curse of the Moon 2 speedrun before, you know how punishing Lava Mandra can be. Lava Mandra, aka Fire Rahab, is often the central RNG point of the run. I have had countless runs across the categories die to Fire Rahab. How will the RNG be this time? Well, I can tell you the odds of getting best RNG on this fight are probably around 10%. It's not in the player's favor. Now there's a strat you can go for right here to land on the platform using just a double jump and a big gun, but I believe it's pixel perfect. And considering we're coming up on the major RNG point of the run, well, it's this and it's the final boss. I just decided it wasn't worth saving the 1 second. That's a cool strat. You switch to Hachi for slightly less knockback, and you can barely make that platform cycle. Very good. So here we go. Here's what we're looking for here. It's episode 2, so the patterns that Lava Mandra follows are quicker than on episode 1. We're looking for a 3 shake at the bottom, then a 3 shake at the bottom, then heads, not tails. The odds of all of that happening are about 10% in my experience. Okay, so now the pressure is on big time. Perfect Lava Mandra RNG in the middle of a run where only boss 3 has been less than perfect. I can tell you in the moment I was super nervous. Like, there were some mistakes early in this stage, a couple of bonks, but very minor mistakes. I have never gotten anywhere near that kind of RNG on this sort of pace before. So, thank you, Lava Mandra. Now it's a real speedrun. Nice gold. So when you get to this point in a run, typically the pressure is on, and it's a tough stage to play well in when you're nervous. Yeah, small mistake right there. I forgot to charge when entering that room. I was just thinking about something later into the stage, you know, getting ready. Common mistake in speedrunning, you let your mind wander. You forget something obvious. Kind of an unfortunate loss of like 1.2 seconds. Otherwise, a good stage. But Titan Commune, at least in this category, is super random. In the old route, what you would do when you only had 20 MP to work with, what you would do is stick with the big gun and just hope you get lucky. And if you don't get lucky, you lose 10-15 seconds. Instead, what we're gonna do is go for the machine gun, which is like a 3-second time loss in total. And I go for it every time. So that's 3 seconds gone every run, but it's totally worth it, because when you get terrible RNG, it's not an automatic reset. It loses like between 5 and 8 rather than 15. So the run can continue. And let's see how the RNG is here. Would you look at that? It's worst possible RNG. That's why you get the machine gun. By the way, those pillars of electricity, those are new to episode 2. They make this fight, I think, more interesting, but also just way tougher. So yeah, unlucky fight, but pretty well played. Now, stage 7 is not a stage. It doesn't really exist. There is a developer-intended question mark stage warp, and it requires damage boosting as Robert through a 1-tile gap right here. So yeah, just like that, we are on to the final stage. Really cool stage warp. Here at the start, we swap back to the big gun. We're gonna need that a bunch in this stage for platform skips. I think more than any other stage, this is where we really see the power of teamwork. Zangetsu, Robert, and Hachi all have really big contributions when navigating the stage. There's a lot of hover, There are a lot of big gun jumps. And Zangetsu, of course, does his thing. His Mega Man Zero thing. I go for a slightly newer strat here, where instead of damage boosting, you can switch to Hachi and hover. This is a little bit riskier, because if you take damage from the Medusas, you can just fall to your death. But it gives you more HP to use later on, and we need some HP for the final boss. If you get a sub-perfect pattern, you're gonna have to tank. I go for the aggressive cycle there, and I get it. Very good. Nice double hit on the demon. And this room is tough to pull off. There's a lot of swapping back and forth between Zangetsu and Roberts. But yeah, that one went well. So here we go. You get to the end of your speedrun. Hopefully you've had good RNG on bosses 3, 5, and 6. But here's where all of that can be thrown into the trash can. You really need to get a good pattern on Mephisto. Phase 1 is pretty much consistent. I mean, it's random where the eyeball lasers will spawn from. But, you know, that's good quality RNG. You can react to that and change up your strats slightly. No problem with Phase 1. Phase 1, good. Phase 2, bad. So good RNG here is the Ikaruga pattern. Bad RNG is of course what I get, where it's these pillars of light. Now, this is a strat I worked on because I was so tired of losing runs to this guy. Well, with the extra MP we have with the reroute, you can actually go invincible with Hachi and get double hits by jumping and attacking at the same time. That straight up saved the run. That backup strat I came up with, because I was so furious about losing speedruns. Sometimes a good quality backup is enough. And there it is, new record. The first sub 23. Thank you, Hachi. So yeah, overall this run is very improvable still. The start was incredible. A lot of the middle stages were also quite good. But bosses 3 and 6 especially were big time losses. And stage 8 could be cleaner. However, I'm very happy with this. Next up, we've got episode EX with the old squad making a return.